Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at the desk. I ask unanimous consent. The amendment be considered as read.
So ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My amendment is very simple. I'm kind of in a constitutional mood, as you guys can determine, and I'm trying to restore some constitutional authority back to this body. My bill would require that any rule promulgated under this authorization that has an economic impact of $100 million or more is determined by the White House Office of Management and Budget come before the Congress for an up and down vote before being enacted. You know, this authorization is going to last for 6 years. It's possible that the next President of the United States will not have any real say on this authorization other than through the rulemaking process. And we don't know who he or she will be, nor do we know what they're planning on doing and how they're going to implement and execute this bill. And for my colleagues on the other side of the aisle with some of your concerns related to the changes of the air traffic control, this is one way that you get to take another look at this, another bite at this apple, to make sure that our policymakers and federal bureaucrats get it right. You get another look at this. Article 1, Section 1, the very first word is 3 letters long, and it's one of the most powerful words in the whole Constitution. It's the word all. All legislative powers herein granted. If it's not granted here, it's not in the Constitution, you don't have it, but if it is, it's there, and it's all of them, shall be vested and trusted in a Congress, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. That is us. And for far too long, we relinquished that authority to the executive branch. The authority that the founders of this great country and the American people deserve belongs right here. And all my amendment does is say, this one law, to help prevent attorneys from making a decision on what this stuff actually means. Your citizens, the 700,000 plus citizens that you came here to speak for, your citizens get a say in this matter. You get, through their elected representative, they get to come back and have a say. All I want is good government. All I want is an opportunity to represent the citizens that sent me here to be their voice, not someone sitting in some office someplace else where they can't even talk to them. And so I've deliberately made this at $100 million so it's large enough so that not every small rule, so it won't slow the process down. It's a straight up and down vote within 70 days, and the process can continue. I believe this warrants your support. I think this could be historical in its move. And so I would encourage all of my members and all the members of this committee on both sides of the aisle to support this amendment. I yield
Mr.
back.
Chairman.
Mr. DeFazio is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, actually, off my time, I'd like to address counsel. Yeah, the bill would create a new construct, privatized air traffic control system. They will inevitably propose new routes and approaches and patterns and things like that, which have to be approved by the safety regulators at the FAA. Would this open up the private corporations' proposals for new routes to review by the United States Congress in the broad interpretation of the RAINS Act for good government?
Thank you for the question. If under our proposal, the ATC Corporation will propose changes to airspace procedures and things of that nature. If the proposal were approved and were determined to have an economic impact of the $100 million threshold, it would indeed trigger this process in this amendment.
Well, thank you. Now I'll take time. Yet another twist of the worm here on this proposal and unanticipated, new intrusion by Congress now into safety rulemaking, where we could overturn a safety rule that is based on the proposal of the private corporation to alter the airspace of the United States of America. Now, that would just be lovely. I look at all the safety experts sitting here in front of me who can determine about safe spacing, safe approaches, et cetera. We've been told again and again, don't worry, this is going to be safer than the safest system in the world. And now we're going to say, oh, by the way, and we're going to be free of congressional meddling. Oh, well, no, actually, we're going to subject it to a new intrusion by the Congress into actually safety issues, what I do not believe the Congress is competent to rule upon. And it would be doubly ironic that the private corporation proposes the rule, and yet we're overturning the rule of the private corporation, which also might well understand the safety aspects of what it's proposing. So I would hope that the chairman and those who advocate the privatization of the air traffic control of the United States of America would oppose this, because this adds such an extraordinary additional complication in addition to everything else we've raised.
Anybody else wish to be heard? Mr. Ribble?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just if, in fact, we want to have more oversight here, if, in fact, oversight is the issue, if, in fact, safety is the issue, more oversight for those who are concerned how this law might be implemented is better than less oversight. Now, let's say for some reason that Congress overturns something. Well, at least the American people have a say in that, because that next election is coming pretty soon, and they get to make a change right then and there. But if they don't like something that happens in some office someplace, they have no say at all. If some rule or some regulation that maybe minimizes safety, when we want more safety, happens, it's going to require literally a proactive act of Congress, which, in my observation of only being here for 5 years, that's not particularly easy to do. And so that's how I would answer that. I yield back.
Any amendments to the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Mr. Ribble's amendment say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, ask the court to vote.